the global trade game just changed overnight. BRICS, an alliance of emerging economic giants, has imposed a 100% tariff on key U.S. exports. From agriculture to tech, entire industries are now staring down billions in losses, with no clear backup plan in sight. This isn't just a trade dispute, this is an economic ambush. And the U.S. wasn't ready. While Washington scrambles for answers, BRICS leaders are signaling strength, unity, and a clear message to the West: play by our rules or pay the price. As markets react and businesses brace for impact, one question rises above all. Is this the beginning of a new world order in global trade? Let's break it all down. The BRICS alliance. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa just dropped a bombshell: a 100% tariff on select U.S. imports, targeting key sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, energy, and tech components. The announcement came during a surprise joint press conference where BRICS leaders stood side by side, declaring a new economic doctrine, one rooted in mutual development, regional sovereignty, and retaliation against Western economic coercion. China's representative described the move as necessary and proportionate, citing years of U.S. sanctions and dollar weaponization. Russia called it a long overdue correction to an unbalanced system. And Brazil emphasized BRICS's right to protect its internal markets from manipulated influence. The tariffs are not symbolic, they are sweeping and immediate. For example, soybean and corn exports from the U.S. to China and Brazil now face instant price hikes. U.S. electronics and processors entering India will see double costs. Oil equipment shipments to South Africa may be halted entirely. What makes this more than just a tariff is the message behind it. BRICS isn't just resisting U.S. dominance, it's rewriting the rules. This marks the beginning of a bold economic realignment, and the ripple effects have only just begun. The U.S. response was swift, but notably restrained. Within hours of the BRICS tariff announcement, White House officials held an emergency briefing, calling the move economically aggressive and deeply concerning. President Biden issued a statement urging BRICS nations to reconsider, warning that such actions would only further destabilize global markets. Behind closed doors, however, the mood is far more tense. Trade advisors, defense analysts, and business leaders are scrambling to assess the fallout. Industries like agriculture, tech, and energy are already voicing alarm, as shipments scheduled for BRICS countries are being canceled or redirected. Wall Street also felt the sting. Stock prices for major U.S. exporters like John Deere, Intel, and Chevron dipped sharply within 24 hours. Meanwhile, trade lobbyists are pressing Congress to issue countermeasures, possibly including sanctions, subsidies, or tariff retaliation. Some critics blame Washington's over-reliance on tariffs and sanctions over the past decade, claiming it pushed BRICS into a corner. Others argue the U.S. has been too slow in diversifying trade partners and developing alternatives. For now, the administration faces a complex dilemma: retaliate and risk escalation, or negotiate and appear weak. One thing's clear: BRICS has thrown the first punch, and the U.S. was caught off guard. The economic fallout from the BRICS tariff shock is already starting to show, and it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. For the U.S., these 100% tariffs hit at the core of its export economy. Key sectors like soybeans, aircraft parts, energy equipment, and semiconductors are now priced out of major BRICS markets. That's a combined loss potential of over $250 billion, 0 cents annually, according to early estimates from trade analysts. Small and mid-sized farms, particularly in the Midwest, stand to lose the most. China and Brazil were two of their largest buyers. Now, those supply chains are frozen. In the tech world, U.S. chip makers like Intel and Qualcomm will face brutal cost disadvantages when selling into India and South Africa. Meanwhile, freight companies and global shippers are bracing for delayed contracts, rerouted shipments, and major losses in logistics revenues. Some companies have already suspended operations in BRICS-linked markets, fearing further retaliation or regulatory hurdles. More broadly, this move could widen the global economic divide, pushing BRICS and Western economies into separate, competing trade systems, something economists have warned about for years. Bottom line, this isn't just a tariff. It's a shockwave to America's global economic footprint. And recovery won't come easy. To understand why BRICS imposed such a bold and unified 100% tariff, we have to look beyond trade. This is about power. For years, BRICS nations have voiced frustration with the global system being skewed in favor of the West, especially the dominance of the U.S. dollar in trade, finance, and sanctions. From SWIFT controls to IMF loan conditions, BRICS leaders have grown increasingly vocal about what they see as Western overreach. The U.S., they argue, has long used economic tools as weapons, imposing sanctions, blocking technology transfers, and controlling vital financial infrastructure. In that context, this tariff move is less a surprise and more a counterpunch. At their last summit, BRICS members openly discussed building an alternative trade system, backed by local currencies or a potential BRICS reserve unit. This tariff could be a strategic first step in pushing more trade inward, strengthening ties within BRICS, while reducing dependency on the West. It's also political. Each BRICS leader is signaling strength at home, showing their people and allies that they can stand up to U.S. pressure. So, why now? Because BRICS believes the world is ready for a new center of gravity in global trade, and this is their way of drawing the line. Every global shakeup creates two camps, those who benefit and those who pay the price. Let's start with the losers. U.S. exporters. American farmers, manufacturers, and tech companies are taking the hardest hit. Major firms like Caterpillar, Intel, and Boeing may lose billions in annual revenue, and smaller suppliers could be forced to lay off workers or shut down entirely. Ports and freight operators tied to BRICS trade routes will also feel the pressure. But on the flip side, BRICS-aligned nations stand to gain. China, for instance, may now prioritize internal supply chains or boost imports from partner countries like Russia, Brazil, and South Africa. Indian manufacturers, previously reliant on U.S. tech components, might fast-track domestic alternatives or tap into Russian and Chinese ecosystems. Even non-BRICS nations like Turkey, Indonesia, or Iran could seize this moment to deepen economic ties with the alliance, filling the gap left by U.S. products. In many ways, this move accelerates the creation of a parallel global economy, where trade flows, currencies, and standards drift further from U.S. influence. So while America recalculates, BRICS and its allies are already repositioning. Not just to survive the shift, but to profit from it. With tensions rising and billions at stake, the world is now bracing for what comes next. In Washington, lawmakers are debating a mix of retaliatory tariffs, sanctions, and emergency subsidies for affected industries. But any countermove risks deepening the divide and pushing more countries toward BRICS. At the same time, quiet diplomacy is underway. Back-channel discussions with India and Brazil suggest the U.S. may try to peel off softer BRICS members, offering incentives to ease the pressure. Meanwhile, Wall Street is watching nervously. Global investors fear a prolonged trade split could trigger a fragmented global economy, with competing trade blocs, currencies, and supply networks. The next few weeks will be crucial. Will the U.S. double down or recalibrate? Will BRICS hold firm or fracture under internal strain? One thing is clear. The global balance of trade has been shaken, and nothing is guaranteed from here. What started as a tariff announcement may go down as a turning point in global economic history. BRICS didn't just impose a trade penalty, they sent a message. The era of U.S. trade dominance is no longer untouchable. For decades, the U.S. built its strength on global partnerships, open markets, and a dollar-backed system. But now, emerging powers are pushing back, rewriting rules, forming alliances, and reshaping trade flows in real time. The 100% tariff isn't just about economics, it's about control, sovereignty, and a new global narrative where power isn't dictated by a single superpower. Will the U.S. adapt to this new world or try to fight its way back to the old one? Because one thing's certain. The map of global trade has changed, and the next moves will define the future.